Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Chronojet Dragon deck profile for posts, the Chronojet Stride deck set. This is the deck for Gear Chronicle that you can build in D format using all the cards that we received from the latest Stride set. It's a really awesome set that, lets you use Stride during D format, which also incorporates Chronojet Dragon, the grade 3 used by Chrono Shindo in the original Cardfight Vanguard G series. Just being able to have this card combat some of the other decks we have, like Nirvana, Bruce, you name it, in the form that it was meant to do so, being able to stride with an actual stride zone and not have to rely with having the grade 4s in your deck like we had to do during V format's Chronojet Dragon. So very happy with the results of the deck and the playtesting. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, that still remains the same, having a ride deck. The only difference with this deck is we have also what is called a crest marker, which we'll get to in just a second. Along with that, we also have the stride zone, which we'll be going over. So just like in G format, we'll have that. And the only additions being that we also have a ride deck to utilize as well. Our grade 0 is Chrono Drawn. When wrote upon, if you went second, draw a card, the standard starter for D format. Our grade 1 is Mazer Gear Dragon. With this card, when this unit is placed by riding from Chrono Drawn, you draw a card and you get a Chronojet Dragon crest. So this crest goes into effect when you ride your Mazer Gear Dragon, which we'll go over in full right after the ride deck. Our grade 2 is Smoke Gear Dragon. When this unit is wrote upon by grade 3 with Chronojet in its card name, Soul Blast 1, search your deck for up to one grade 3 card unit, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this lets you go for your Stride, which with Stride you discard a grade 3, and then also being able to stride that grade 4 unit on top of your Vanguard, meaning your original Vanguard becomes a heart to your Stride, and your Stride gains all the additional power of your grade 3 Vanguard as well, with our main go-to grade 3 being Chronojet Dragon. Now, having the original skills is the original one, and just being the exact same card, you are allowed to use the original Chronojet that we had from the first support we had for Gear Chronicle originally for Cardfight Vanguard G, which we'll get to in just a second. With the Mazer Gear Dragon skill, we do get what's called a Chronojet Dragon Crest, which we are running one copy of because that's all you need. It doesn't get put into the deck, it stays outside the deck and then just goes into effect when you ride into your grade 1. You can perform Stride and cannot ride grade 3 or greater cards without Chronojet in their card names. The original power of your grade 3 cards with Chronojet become 13,000, so it matches up with all of the other 13k units we have in D format. During your turn, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Chronojet in its card name, all your front row gets plus 5,000 for each face-up card in your G zone. So it says grade 3 or greater because the Stride unit does count as having still being Chronojet in its name. And at the beginning of your battle phase, choose up to one of your grade 3 or greater rear guards and increase or decrease its grade to 0 to end of turn. I'm guessing this is to work with Fate Rider, but still an added plus with that also. Now with that crest skill, we have everything set up for the Stride deck, along with the Chronojet Dragon from the ride deck. We are also running 3 additional copies of the card in the deck. I have the original Chronojet Dragon, as you see here. Both this card and the original Chronojet have the same power and skill, and it's down to the core the same card as these ones here. So like I said, you could run the original copies if you wished, full playset in the deck, to no issue with this card. So with it being the GB2 on Vanguard, which GB2 means how many face-up cards you have in your Stride zone. So if you have 2 next stage face-up, then you are GB2. When it attacks a Vanguard till the end of that battle, this unit gets plus 5,000, and your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater units from their hand to the guard circle. Now this GB2 only activates when you have just Chronojet Dragon on your Vanguard circle. You can't be stridden to have this, but you do get a Stride skill, which is the second skill of Chronojet Dragon, which is right underneath it. You counterblast 1. During your turn, when your G unit strides, you may pay the cost and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and put it on the bottom of their deck. So then you have the same skill written here. Like I said, it's the exact same card, so just being able to take out one of your opponent's rear guards when you stride every time you use the counterblast. Just be a little wary because it will get pretty costly for your counterblast in total. For our other grade 3, I also run 4 copies, my mistake, of Steam Fighter Bala on GB2 on rearguard. During your turn, if any player's rearguard was put on the bottom of the deck this turn, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. So if you use Chronojet Dragon's Stride skill, this card will be 23k on its own, and when it's discarded from hand for the cost of Stride, you can draw a card, making up for the discard cost that you would have used for your Stride into your G-Zone, using this card, thankfully, to replenish it. So whether you use it for a discard cost or a power unit, it'll definitely come in handy either way. Moving on now to the grade 2s, I run 4 copies of Upstream Dragon on the rearguard circle. It's a GB1, which means you have to have that unit face up, just like the GB2 of Chronojet Dragon. So you GB1 on when this unit attacks a Vanguard, it gets plus 5,000 to end of battle. At the end of the battle, put this unit on the bottom of the deck. Search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 card, call it a back row rearguard, and shuffle your deck. So you just need to have some pretty good rearguard targets to run in the deck. I would say Steam Skara Gigi is your best one to go to, but I do have some other grade 1 options to use with Upstream Dragon as well, just aside from her also. And for the other grade 2 unit in the deck, I run 4 copies of Term Fracture Dragon. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you may draw a card. If you drew a card, choose a card from your hand, put it into your soul. So the big thing with Steam Skara Gigi is you do have to Soul Blast 2, so if you're going to utilize this card multiple times, you'll want to be able to build up your soul. And you don't have Persona Ride with Chronojet Dragon, so there's really no point in riding multiple copies of this card on the Vanguard circle. So being able to use Term Fracture Dragon just as more of a consistent way to also draw through the deck and provide soul charge buildup is why I like to run this card at 4. Moving on now to the grade 1s, we're running 4 copies of Steam Breath Dragon. When you're paying the cost for Stride, it can be regarded as a grade 3. And if you have a Chronojet Dragon Crest, discard this card, search your deck, or drop for up to 1 grade 3 with Chronojet and its card name, reveal it, put it into your hand, and if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. So just more search power with this card as well. Being able just to get that grade 3 in your hand for you to use, whether it be Chronojet Dragon, or just also to thin out the deck of any non-trigger cards. I also run for the other grade 1s the 4 copies of Steam Skara Gigi. When this unit is placed on rearguard, if you have a Chronojet Dragon Crest, Soul Blast 2, draw a card. If this unit was placed by your card's ability, it gets plus 5 to end of turn, making Gigi a potential 13k attacker or just a 13k booster for one of your units on the field. A definite 4-up, so you always have the target for your Upstream Dragon to also call this card out to the field. And I also run 3 copies of Steam Battler Gungram. With this card, when it's placed on rear, Soul Charge 1. So if you place it off of Upstream Dragon, you will get the additional Soul Charge. And once per turn, just being able to Soul Blast 3 to draw a card gives you more of a draw option since you have to place Gigi to use her skill. You can choose when you want to use your Steam Battler Gungram. With the last of the grade 1s being 4 copies of Steam Maiden Our Limb, just more aesthetically pleasing, being a Gear Chronicle unit as well. When it's put on guard circle, choose one of your units. It cannot be hit until the end of that battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So these same options for the hand restriction. If you only have the 1 card in your hand, you can at least save it in your hand and use it for the discard costs for Stride. That's why a lot of times when using this deck, I do prefer just to keep the grade 3 in hand to then be able to at least Stride during the following turn. For the trigger lineup, I'm going with these 7 criticals. So 4 of the Lively Breath Dragon and 3 Flinty Slasher. If you have the critical that can be put into Soul for plus 2,000 power to another unit on the field, you can always swap out the Lively Breath Dragon for that spot. But I am running 4 copies of Ruse Wildmaster Riley just because it is a definite plus since it gets a plus 5k shield for additional guard power against your opponent. I prefer the draw over the fronts because with cards like Chrono Dragon Next Stage, being able to go through your drive checks pretty quickly, you can go through your hand as well and get to more important cards you need in the deck. And for the heal triggers, I have the 1 copy of Brilliant Floral Uanya, which is the critical plus 2 unit, so having the additional shield guard for it, and 3 copies of Steam Skara Mal for the, I would say, heal trigger of choice in the deck. It just looks very Gear Chronicle-like. If you have the other heal with the multiple attack ability, you can replace 1 copy of this heal for that copy of that heal. with the Overtrigger, I decided to go with the Terrifying Wicked Dragon King Vandryze for this one. I just find it fitting. It kind of reminds me of Dust, the Zeroth dragon that Chrono used at one point as well in the deck, but they all share the same skill. If you drive check it, then for the rest of the fight, your Vanguard will always get a +10 plus critical during your turn. So really, really awesome, plus the additional 100 million that this card gets also. Now moving on to the Stride Zone. For the Stride cards, we're running 4 copies of Chrono Dragon Next Stage. On the Stride step, you discard a grade 3 with Chronojet and its card name from your hand, and stride this card on your Vanguard from face down. So that's also why we run the Steam Breath Dragon, because if you want to go into Next Stage, you can't just use any of your other grade 3s or your Steam Breath Dragons for its own discard. You have to have Chronojet Dragon for the discard. Another reason why you don't want to run or ride your Chronojets, you want to be able to have them for the discard for being able to go into Chrono Dragon Next Stage. And then also, it's GB2 at the end of the battle. This unit attack to Vanguard, counter +1, discard 2 cards from your hand, put this unit into your G zone, face up, choose one of your Vanguards with Chronojet and its card name, and stand it. So you can then have another attack with the Chronojet, fully utilizing the GB2 that this card has also. And the other stride that we run is 4 copies of Fate Rider Dragon. Now, you can use any grade 3 or cards that equal up to grade 3 to discard from this card. And then when they attack, counterblast 1, turn a card from your G zone face up, and put a rear guard on the bottom of your deck. Search your deck for up to 1 unit card with grade 1 plus from the card put on the bottom of the deck. And for this turn, and call it to rear, and shuffle your deck, and choose one of your units, and it gets +5 to end of turn for each face-up card in your G zone. Having the initial +5 thanks to this card, but also for the setup with your Chronojet Dragon Crest, being able to choose a unit on the field and make its unit grade 0, meaning you can put that card on the bottom of the deck and then also gain the additional +1, making it so you can call out a grade 1 thanks to your Fate Rider Dragon. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, this is an awesome take on Stride for D format, actually giving us a Stride Zone. We'll be getting the same with Messiah later this year as well, so look forward to it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.